Oh, how's it going, everybody? So we're back for another edition of All In, where I'll pick a rock artist and I'll listen to the entire discography and give my thoughts on it. And in case you're new to this show, the rules go kind of like this. The band in question must have 5 or more original studio albums, although cover albums can count. I generally don't talk about the live or acoustic albums unless most of the tracks on those albums are original in that form. So, without further ado, this week we present Korn. That's right. So, many can argue that this was the very start of the nu metal era, even though whenever Korn started, grunge was basically in full effect. So, Korn was kind of in a... When Korn started getting somewhat popular in their beginnings, they were sort of that odd band out where, like, yeah, you knew who they were, but it was like, you know, like they weren't like, they didn't really explode in popularity quite yet unless you were like diehard into them. So I first remember hearing Korn back in the early 90s whenever their first album came out, and I think the only song I remember actually hearing at that time was probably Chutes and Ladders. And I kind of thought, in a way, I kind of thought, in a way, they were sort of like, well, I wouldn't say copying Green Jelly, but it was kind of, I feel like they were kind of taking Green Jelly's idea a little bit by doing a nursery rhyme in metal. I guess that's what I was trying to say there. Although, you know, Green Jelly with Three Little Pigs, that exploded in popularity. But Chutes and Ladders with Korn, it's like, yeah, it was played a few times on the air, but it really didn't take off too much in popularity, at least not until they got popular in later years. But I remember hearing of them at the time, but wasn't really big into them at that time. So, I didn't really catch on to them till probably the late 90s, whenever Follow the Leader came out, and that's really when the whole nu metal craze was really taking off. You know, grunge kind of faded into obscurity after Kurt Cobain died, and then, you know, you get into like the late 90s, early 2000s, that's when Korn really hit their stride, I think. And you talk about a unique sound, like no other band can copy these guys. Like, what other heavy metal or rock band out there uses bagpipes? I can't think of any. Yeah, they used bagpipes, but they didn't really overuse them, so to speak. But I guess it's like more or less like a trademark. But, alright, well, let's get into the meat of the whole video here. So I said meat. So, let's talk about the album. So we have a total of 14 studio albums, ranging from their debut in '94, their self-titled debut, all the way to Requiem, which came out 3 years ago in 2022. So, these guys really remained very consistent throughout the years, as far as the releases go. Like, I don't think they went more than maybe a 3-year gap without a release, which there is possibility that they're going to release another album here in 2025, but that's to be determined, I guess. But, anyhow, let's get started talking about the existing albums. So here we have their debut self-titled album. And so we start off with the song Blind. Not only a great way to start off an album, but to start off an entire discography. Love that song. You got Ball Tongue, Need To, Clown, Divine, Faggot, Chutes and Ladders, Predictable, Fake, Lies, Hummet in the Bush, and Daddy. And yeah, although Blind was a really good song, I don't remember hearing it until like later on when Korn got real popular. It actually was a single, but I don't actually remember hearing it at the time. So Chutes and Ladders is really the only one from this album I remember at the time. This is one of those albums that, you know, I got into them a few years after this came out, and I kind of stepped back and got it. But, very good album. I'm going to say at least a top 15 album for me of all time. So then we move on to 1996. We got Life is Peachy, their sophomore album here. They start off with Twist and then Chi. And yeah, Twist, you want to talk about some vocals there. So you got Twist, Chi, Lost, Swallow, Porno Creep, Good God, would you get the fuck out of my face? You got Mr. Rogers, and then I don't even know what you call track number 8. It's got like nothing but curse words in it. You got No Place to Hide, which I do remember when that came out at the time. You got Wicked. You also got Adidas, which I remember that one too. But on the radio back in the day, bring, on the radio it was edited, and then later on I heard the real version of it. So it's definitely an album you don't play around your child, that's for sure. So then you have Lowrider, which is actually a cover, Ass Itch, and then Kill You. And definitely a great follow-up to the debut for sure. But here again, 1996, you know, grunge, I guess, was coming off its peak and still popular. And this is just kind of like the odd man out at this point. So then we had the song Proud, which came off the I Know What You Did soundtrack. I believe that was 97. And then we move on to 1998, Follow the Leader. And this is where they really started to get popular. And this is where nu metal really took off as a whole. And I don't know why they did this, but when they did the tracks here, I don't know how well you can see it there, but when they burnt the tracks onto this CD, it's like they put 12 blank tracks on, and then everything started off at track 13, and then goes up to track 25. It's just kind of weird how they did that, but anyhow, you got It's On, Freak on a Leash, which was real popular, Got the Life, that's the breakout track to this album. You got Dead Bodies Everywhere. Yeah, Dead Bodies Everywhere. Children of the Korn, which it's kind of more of like a rap tune than a rock tune. You got BBK, Pretty, All in the Family, Reclaim My Place, Justin, Seed, Comatosis, and My Gift to You. And this actually came with like a bonus CD right with it. This actually has 2 remixes of Good God, which of course was off Life is Peachy originally. But I don't hate it, but I feel like there was a little bit too much rap mixed into this one. So I wasn't really feeling the whole album, but like, you know, like Got the Life and Freak on a Leash and Dead Bodies Everywhere, I mean, those tunes are like pretty damn solid, so you know, I mean, not bad for what it is. So then we move on the next year to 1999. Well, before we move on to that, I also got another oddity here, all mixed up. This has a remix of Adidas, Good God, Got the Life, live version of Twist, and I did say this on the Christmas video, Jingle Balls. So, set that aside. Oh, and yeah, I forgot I had this, the single of Freak on a Leash, which comes with 5 different remixes. So, a very cool song. Oh, and it's a German import, I believe. So here we move on to 1999, Issues. And this came out, I would say toward the very end of 99. Like, a couple things to note here. So this album art is one of 4 that you could choose from when you bought it at the store. So before releasing this album, they had this competition where people drew the album art and they picked like 4 finalists. And this was one of the 3 finalists, and then the one cover had like a winner. Like if you look here, that's the 4 covers that were picked. And it was this one right here that was the main cover. And you could pick like any of the 4, which I thought that was pretty cool. So here you have the song Dead. You have Falling Away From Me, which was the breakout track to this. And kind of a side story with Falling Away From Me. For those of you fans out there that love South Park, I think it was in season 3, they did like a Scooby-Doo parody, and Korn guest starred in it. And they aired this episode probably, I don't know, maybe a month or 2 before this album dropped. And at the very end of the episode, they played part of Falling Away From Me as a way of sort of like debuting their song. So kind of like a cross-promotion there between, you know, like Matt Stone, Trey Parker, and Korn. So, yeah, pretty cool way to do that. But yeah, great breakout song for this. You got Thrash, For You, Beg For Me, Make Me Bad, which was another single. It's Not Going Away, Wake Up, Am I Going Crazy? Hey Daddy? Somebody, Someone? No Way? Let's Get This Party Started. Wish You Could Be Me? Counting. And we end with Dirty. And I really like that album. I thought it was a big improvement from the last one. It was one of those that, like, it was definitely in heavy rotation for me. So, yeah, Korn Issues, definitely recommend it. So, we end the 90s. Oh, also, End of Days. They had the Camel song, which wasn't on any of these albums. That was in 99 also, which was another great tune. So then we move on to 2002, Untouchables. So here they start off with Here to Stay, which was the breakout tune here. You also have Make Believe, Blame, Hollow Life, Bottled Up Inside, Thoughtless, which was another good one, another popular one, Hating, some more, Alone at Break, which is also popular, Embrace, Beat It Upright, Wake Up Hate, I'm Hiding, and No One's There. And it wasn't my favorite album, but I mean, it wasn't bad either, you know. I thought it was actually better than Issues, but kind of a step down from Issues. No, what I meant to say, it was better than Follow the Leader, but a step down from Issues. That's what I meant to say. Oh, and it even came with a remix of Here to Stay, so it has like bonus cuts to it. So then we move on. We have 2003, Take a Look in the Mirror, which it got this weird scrapbook cover here. This is a BMG edition here. But they start off here with Right Now, really good tune. You got Break Some Off, Counting on Me, Here It Comes Again, Deep Inside, that's what she said, In My Time, Everything I've Known, Play Me, Alive, Let's Do This Now, I'm Done. Y'all want a single, say, fuck that, fuck that, fuck that. I love that song. And When Will This End? And again, I kind of rate it the same as the last one, as Untouchables. Good album, but not great album. I just wonder why this has the odd album cover in it. Like, was it a BMG thing, maybe? I mean, I know that's not the original cover that you found in the stores. But, I mean, regardless, it's Korn. Alright. Put that in the pile here. So then, in 2004, the very next year after this, and I don't have the physical copy of it, but I've got the couple tracks on download, they did a Greatest Hits Volume 1. So, they did 2 covers on here that were both singles, as like the end of the Greatest Hits. So basically covering all the hits of this pile, plus 2 new cover tracks. So what they did was, they did a cover of Word Up by Cameo, and then they also did a cover of Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall, parts 1, 2, and 3. And both covers weren't too bad. I know the Word Up actually was like on regular hit radio, which I thought was surprising. Yeah, so this is another single I got, Did My Time. This actually has, of course, the album version of that song, and then it's got a remix, and then the third track on this is One. Yeah, they actually did a live version of One, covering Metallica, basically. But it was only like half the time as the original version. They did like a 4-minute version. They didn't get into all the guitar solos and stuff at the end like Metallica's version does, but still a pretty good cover. I like it. And yes, I talked about the Greatest Hits. They also did, when was it? In 2005, for Triple X soundtrack, they did Fight the Power with Exhibit. So, sort of another rock-rap collaboration, sort of like what they did on Follow the Leader. I mean, not too bad. So then we move on to the last one that I got on physical. See You on the Other Side. This going to 2005. And as far as 2000s Korn goes, this probably is at the top, I would have to say. I'm already going to say it now. So here you start off with Twisted Transistor, which is the breakout track to this. You got Politics, which is also good. Hypocrites, Souvenir, Tenor or Two-Way, Throw Me Away, Love Song, and No, That's Not a Cure cover. Open Up, Coming Undone, which is pretty popular off this, Getting Off, Liar, For No One, Seen It All, and Tearjerker. And yeah, I really do enjoy this album. I do like it a lot. I mean, I'm almost going to say maybe, as far as Korn albums go, it could almost be a top 3. But, yeah, damn good album. And I remember actually buying this at Kmart. Yes, it sounds so dated, doesn't it? And hard to believe this album here is actually 20 years old. It's crazy. So, yeah, they did all this in a little over 10 years of their career. Wow. So then we move on to, this is where I quit buying them in physical copy. I just sort of dipped off from buying their stuff there after this, but later on I got the downloads. But 2007 we have Untitled. So this actually has a single, Evolution, which was pretty popular. So here we start off with Starting Over, how ironic, Bitch We Got a Problem, Evolution, which of course was a breakout track. You got Hold On, which is also popular. You got the song Kiss, What Do They Say, Ever Be, Love and Luxury, Innocent Bystander, Killing, Hushabye. Yeah, it is Hushabye. Will Protect You. And then of course, depending on which edition you got Sing Sorrow, Overture, and Obituary. And then some editions got the song Haze, which it was a single, but not available in the original edition, which is kind of weird. But the album was alright, but I wouldn't like go out of my way to listen to it again. But maybe I'll hear some of the tracks in random shuffle. That's about all I'll say about that. So then we move on to, yeah, we'll move on to Korn 3. So, I'm going to guess that Korn 2 refers to the last album, if I'm guessing right. But Korn 3, Remember Who You Are, that came out in 2010. And I would say the breakout song to this was Let the Guilt Go. And I don't remember hearing any other songs off of this album on the radio. But this album here, I feel like they were starting to get back to their roots a little bit. As far as like sounding like they did in like 94, 96. So you have Uber Time, Olindale, Leave Me Alone, Pop a Pill, Fear Is a Place to Live, Move On, Lead the Parade, Let the Guilt Go, The Past, Never Around, Are You Ready to Live, Holding All These Lies. And yeah, I didn't think this album was too bad. It was pretty heavy, pretty thrashy. So then, moving on, we got 2011. We have The Path of Totality. And on this album, they sort of took a different route here. They went more of a dubstep route, an electronic route, and teamed up with Skrillex. And like many other bands from that genre, like Nausea, Excision, which I never heard of any of these bands at the time this was released. So here we start off with Chaos Lives in Everything with Skrillex, Kill Mercy Within with Nausea, My Wall with Excision, and then you have Narcissistic Cannibal with Skrillex and Kill the Noise, which that's a good single off that. I love that song. Ill Immunity featuring Excision and Downlink. Like I said, never heard of them. Bendant featuring Nausea. Sanctuary featuring Downlink. Let's Go featuring Nausea. Get Up featuring Skrillex, which is the breakout track to this. Way Too Far featuring 12th Planet and Flinch. Bleeding Out featuring Feed Me. And then when you go to the bonus tracks, you got Fuels Economy featuring Kill the Noise and Tension featuring Excision, Deatsick, and Downlink. And this album here, I didn't hate it, but it wasn't my favorite. But at the same time, it was good to hear them do something different. I mean, they were very, what do you call it? Very ambitious, I guess, with this album. But yeah, at this point, of course, we're in 2011. Like, nu metal itself, the peak of nu metal is like long gone, and here they are trying like different sounds and everything. But you know, you can't hate them for it. You know, for trying something different. So then we move on to 2013's The Pendulum Shift. So here they get back to their normal sound. And so we have Pray For Me, Love and Meth, What We Do, Spike in My Veins, Miss Hysteria, Paranoid and Aroused, and then the popular song of this, Never Never. Then you got Punishment Time, Lullaby for the Saddest, Victimized, It's All Wrong. And then you have like two different editions of this. You have Deluxe Edition had Wish I Wasn't Born Today and Tell Me What You Want. And then if you go World Tour Edition with, you know, lots of live tracks, you have the song Hater, which was a single. And then The Game Is Over and Die Another Day. So, yeah, I feel like it's like every other album, they try something different and then they go back to their normal sound, you know? Like this one here, they kind of like went back to what you're normally used to with them. But I mean, all in all, not a bad album. So then we go to 2016, The Serenity of Suffering. So we start off with the song Insane, then you have Rotting in Vain, and then Black as a Soul, which is the popular song off of this. Love it. The Hating, then you have A Different World, which has Corey Taylor as a guest. And yes, we did do an all-in with Slipknot a couple weeks ago, so you want to go check that out, you know, go browse to the channel, check it out. Like I said in the Slipknot video, Corey Taylor, you know, guests in a lot of other bands' material, and I didn't even know about this song until I just heard this album. So you have Take Me, Everything Falls Apart, Die Yet Another Night, When You're Not Here, Next in Line, Please Come For Me. And then when you go European edition, Baby and Calling Me Too Soon, and then you have Out of You for the Japanese edition. And then moving along, 2019, we have The Nothing. And here they kept on with their normal sound. You got The End Begins intro. You got Cold, which is a big single off of this. You'll Never Find Me, which is another single. The Darkness is Revealing, Idiocracy, The Seduction of Indulgence, Finally Free, Can You Hear Me? I would say that's the most popular track off of this. You got The Ringmaster, Gravity of the Discomfort, Harder, which has an @ symbol and a 3 in it. Why they wrote it that way, I don't know. This Loss, and Surrender to Failure. And you know, here again, I would say a continuation to the last album, as far as sound goes. And then moving on to 2022, just 3 years ago, we got The Requiem. No, not The Rectum, The Requiem. So, and they actually kept it short in this album. It's only like a 35-minute album, kind of like they used to do in the 70s, you know, keep it short and sweet. But you have Forgotten, Let the Dark Do the Rest, Start the Healing, Lost in the Grandeur, Disconnect, Hopeless and Beaten, Penance to Sorrow, My Confession, Worst is on Its Way, and bonus track, I Can't Feel. And, you know, another good solid album. I haven't really listened to these last few enough yet to really judge, you know, what's my favorite over the other, but I mean, still, I mean, it's their trademark sound, and you know, I think you hear the bagpipes at least once per album, and like I said, they don't overdo it. I also forgot to mention that in 2020 they covered "Devil Went Down to Georgia," which, you know, a lot of bands did in 2020 in tribute to Charlie Daniels. So All right, so that's the rundown of all the albums. So I want to talk about my experiences with Korn. So yeah, I did get to see them live twice. So me and the Roy's boys, we piled in my old Pontiac Sunbird. We drove out to Pittsburgh to Mellon Arena and got to see them. And this was about like 2002 when we got to see them live. You know, right in the peak of new metal. We saw them. I think it was Dead Z opened up for them, and then after that was Puddle of Mud, and then Korn. And I remember, like, there was a lot of people. I'd say there's about half a dozen people in the mosh pit that were wearing them kilts. And I remember, like, the next day after the show, we were driving around in the car. We were listening. I think it was 105.9 out there in Pittsburgh. We were listening to them, and the DJ was talking about how he was at the show and talking about, like, you kind of like busted on those people that were wearing the kilts out there in the pit. I mean, it looked ridiculous. But hey, I guess they were diehards, you know. But yeah, that was definitely a good show, though. I definitely recommend seeing them live if you have the chance. And then I saw them live again in 2015 at the Rock Allegiance show in Chester, which was outside Philadelphia. And kind of neat what they did in that show. They were celebrating the 20th anniversary of their first album, their self-titled album. So they actually played, like, most of the set that night was just about the entire Korn album. And then after that, they kind of tacked on a couple of newer tracks. So kind of cool they did that. They paid homage to, like, their earlier album, their first album. So yeah, if you ever get the chance to see them live, do it. So as far as ranking the albums, or I gotta figure out what eras we need to do here. So obviously we're gonna do 90s Korn. We have 4 albums there. We're gonna do 2000s Korn, 4 albums there. And then the rest of it we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll just say 2010s to now on the last era. Okay, so 90s Korn. My least favorite, I would say Follow the Leader. Like I said, it seemed a little bit too rappy for my liking on some of the tracks. But, you know, like, it was kind of hit or miss for me as far as that goes. It had its hits, like Freak on a Leash and Got the Life, damn good songs. That's what really got me into Korn. So, I don't hate the album completely, but it's my least favorite from that era. As far as my favorite from that era, oh, hands down, the debut. Hell yeah. Any track on there could have been a hit to me. Issues, very close second to that. So then we move on to the 2000s era. As far as my favorite goes, See You on the Other Side. Yeah, I don't know why. I just... The tunes on that album seemed a little bit more catchy than on the previous two. And least favorite of that era, Untitled. I feel like when they did Evolution, they sort of got away from their trademark sound a little bit. And I just kind of like dipped off from buying their stuff on physical at that point. Oh, I also forgot to mention from around that time, 2007, they also did an MTV Unplugged. And yeah, most of the tracks were pretty much like previous material, but they did do. It's worth mentioning they did do a cover of "Creep" by Radiohead on the Unplugged. Wasn't too bad. Okay, so going to 2010s to now, Korn. What is my favorite? What is my least favorite? Oh boy, I'm really not sure. I mean, Korn 3 was pretty damn good. It was pretty heavy. The Paradigm Shift, I don't know. I would say Korn 3. I would say I'd rank that at the top in that era. My least favorite over there, The Path of Totality. Though I didn't hate it, I'm just not into like that dubstep kind of stuff. You know, or like that electronic music. But I mean, But like I said, I mean, they tried something different, but I just wasn't really a fan of it. If they did like every album from then on with that, then forget about them. So yeah, so that's pretty much my rankings on Korn albums. So as we continue on, we got another modern band who they stirred up lots and lots of controversy back in the day. Bling! Find out who it is next.